Hospital Porters pride and dignity and all that sort of thing. Merry Christmas, everybody. That's right, it is that day again. I remember what I was doing last year, eating mince pie, sitting here, and I thought, I'll make a video, I'll just talk to people. And I made a video, didn't I? But now, I've run out of mince pies, which is a shame. And of course all the shops are shut. But anyway, hope you're doing well. I've got this hat on. This is Sophie the Porter's Poet gave me this. Unfortunately I put it in the wash and it shrank, but it's still quite useful for doing videos with, so that's what I do, just because I've got to have something to prevent my head from becoming just overexposed. And this makes a nice change. I'm wearing this t-shirt here, which I think is quite amusing. Yeah, I was thinking of getting one of those Bridget Jones jumpers. When I went to see the brass bands the other evening with Sophie and her partner, it's odd that these are quite popular. Now I'm talking about the kind of jumpers with Christmas emblems on them that are quite childlike. It comes from the film Bridget Jones's Diary. I don't know if you've seen that. It's one of my favourite movies actually. But Bridget Jones, this young woman who is looking for a man in her life, and she does meet the man of her dreams eventually, but when she first meets him, she's put off from him. She's put off because he's wearing a Christmas t-shirt, a Christmas jumper, like with a knitted image of a reindeer on it. Anyway, so it's now about, I think it's about 1 PM, was it 2 PM? The Queen's speech will be on soon. I was watching that comedy from a Christmas comedy in Sickness and Health, and there's a sketch where they're all sitting around talking about the Queen's speech, watching the Queen's speech and everything, and about how the TV got broken last year and so the Queen's face looked green. Well, I will be watching the Queen's speech, and I will be interested to see whether the Queen's face turns green, but if it does, it may not be because of a technical fault in the television set. But I'll let you know. Another thing I'm going to watch is a video by Steve Mumbling. I see he's made his own little Christmas video where my name gets dropped a few times, and so I'm going to make a little video of that. In fact, I'm going to insert it into this video, so you'll be seeing that in a minute. And what else am I going to do? Well, what else am I going to do? Let's have a look. I've got something in my notes about UFO disclosure, which I can't remember why I wrote that down. It doesn't matter because I'm going to do a UFO disclosure video soon, probably within a short time. So let's have a look at what I'm doing now. First I'll show you some of my presents. Hang on, let me show you some of my presents. I'm not going to show all of them to you, but I actually this morning I went with my daughter to visit my daughter's family, that is my ex-in-laws, so to speak, and we had a good time, and one of them gave me this present here, which is like a diary, Only Fools and Horses diary for 2020. Now, they know I'm a big fan of Only Fools and Horses, and I do love it, and so they gave me a calendar as well. And indeed, it's all this cellophane wrapper still, but you can see the different months there, and it says things like, you know, Kushti, this time next year will be millionaires, he who dares wins, etc. All the catchphrases from the series, so that's really good. Now, I've already got a diary for next year, unfortunately, but I'll still use this. I can use this as a notebook, because I do need one of those, so that's cool, that's fine. I also got given this by one of my daughter's families. Now, this was actually a present that someone gave him, but he doesn't like it. He doesn't drink, so he thought he'd pass it on to me. And of course, this is what we do with Christmas, don't we? If you get a present you don't like, I explained all that in my Lapis video. But anyway, it's what we got here. Yeah, this is a finest Scotch whisky, Famous Grouse. It's got a glass tumbler. Here we are. It's got here we are. 5 cls of the Famous Grouse whisky with a glass and 2 milk chocolates. That sounds good, doesn't it? So I think I'll open that now and have a little sip now. I do have plenty of drink in the house. Just no mince pies, but I do have plenty of drink in the house. And you just pull it out like that. And there's that little whisky. It's tiny. There's a little small miniature. Well, it's quite a large miniature actually. What you call a bigature, I suppose you'd call it. But it's like, it's a little bottle like that. And got in here. We do have the glass tumbler here. It's got a bit of a crack in, never mind, never mind. Got a slight crack, just a hairline fracture. And 2 little sweeties, which I'll eat those later. And here's the glass with a little crack in. And so now I think I shall have my Christmas whiskey, and I'll pour this out, and then I'll toast your good health. It's quite a lot. It's 5 cls. I mean, how much will that go into the? There we are. Oh, no, there we are. There's that in there. Now, I'm not a fan of Thames Grouse, actually. It's not my favourite scotch. But anyway, it's a nice gift, it's a nice idea. So thank you very much to the person who passed this on to me. Merry Christmas to you. Well, they don't watch this channel anyway. But cheers, everyone. Cheers. Christmas toast to you all. It's not bad, actually. Better than I remember grouse. Anyway, what am I going to do today? Because I'm on my own in the house, basically. My daughter's gone off with her boyfriend. My dad's gone off to visit his partner's family in Dorset. My brother's also away visiting people. My housemates, who are Muslim, have gone off somewhere. I don't know where they are. They don't celebrate Christmas. I don't know. I think I'll sit here on me. I don't mind being on my own, actually. Well, I'm going to obviously I'm going to sort out Steve Mumbling's video. I've got this urge to watch Lord of the Rings. Do you remember? Now, this is Lord of the Rings. These are the special extended edition DVDs, which I got years ago. I've got the urge to watch them. Now, the extended edition is much better than the theatrical cut. I mean, the reason I've got it, I don't think it's to do with Christmas as such, but ever since the general election, I suddenly felt the urge to watch Lord of the Rings, and I think there's a message there, perhaps, within the story, which, of course, J.R. Tolkien was a very spiritual man who was in touch with deep, etheric and esoteric currents within the world, especially within, say, indigenous European culture. Very keen on Celtic mythology, classical mythology, Norse mythology, etc. And, of course, these things are very much a kind of I think they are very relevant to things in the modern world, in the political world, especially in Britain and Europe. And I think that, I mean, there's always been this sort of spiritual element to everything I do, including even some of the most down-to-earth and very, very materialistic and what you might say three-dimensional items that I deal with. And one of those is, I think one of those is the election and politics and things like that. You wouldn't think there is a spiritual element to that. These are really amazing. These extended editions, like I said, so much better than the feature cut. I've got DVDs of the feature cuts as well, which is what you see in the cinema and on TV. These are about an hour longer. All the outtakes are put in. It's about an hour longer. And there's also a very, very large featurette section in these. There's 4 DVDs in each of these, and there's a very, very large number of documentaries about the making of the film, which I really, really enjoy. I watched all of those, and I think it's fascinating watching how this film was made and everything that went into it. There's interviews with the cast and crew, with the director Peter Jackson, other little snippets and things like that. Very, very good. Honestly, I tell you what, if you haven't seen these versions of Lord of the Rings, you haven't seen Lord of the Rings. I do recommend getting them. So that's what I'll probably do for the rest of it. I'll probably binge watch these, which will probably take me probably into most of Boxing Day. I mean, I won't stay up all night, but I won't have time to watch them all today. But I'll spend the evening watching them. Do something special on Christmas. Yeah. So I think something happened yesterday, Christmas Eve, which is something I thought was so important when I posted it on social media. So if you follow me on Facebook or Twitter, you'll know what I'm talking about. I had dinner with my Christmas dinner. I went to my dad's house and I had dinner with him, his old friend, who's an old friend of the family, and his girlfriend. Now this is what I'm talking about. It's a kind of an epilogue to what I was talking about in my Lapis videos, because if you watch my Lapis video, you'll know there's a scene where I'm walking along the beach and I'm reminiscing about the previous Christmas, and I'm talking about how I found last Christmas very uncomfortable. It was very, very, there's a lot of tension in the air, a lot of hostility, and I explain why that is in that video. So last Christmas was pretty unpleasant, I must say. That's when I'm spending time with my dad and his partner and etc, etc. This Christmas it was a totally different atmosphere. Everyone was really happy. I got on really, really well with my dad's partner. My dad was really happy. I mean, he got a bit tired and he had to lie down. But everyone had a wonderful time. It was a lovely dinner. And my dad was sort of like worrying he hadn't cooked things properly and stuff like that. And I said, it's fine, it's absolutely fine. And his girlfriend was really in a really good mood, and she was really nice. And I felt that was a kind of a healing experience, yesterday's dinner. Very much a healing experience. And it was what I needed to make me feel better about what happened last year. Strong. There's no mixer in this. I just pour it straight from the bottle. The way the Scots do it. I mean, in Scotland, they put. My dad always puts in like a bit of ginger ale or tonic or a bit of soda or something like that. And just imagine the old Scots going, "You wee lily-livered pussy, drink it neat from the bottle." Yeah. It was. I feel a lot better about yesterday. Really, really has made me feel a lot better about a lot of things that have happened through the past year, based on my unpleasant memories of last year's Christmas dinner. Now, one of the reasons I think things were a bit better is because of the Brexit situation and the general election. Now, as I told you before, my dad is a very arch Ramoner, and I've had problems with that. I found that difficult to deal with, but the subject didn't even come up. I mean, it's not like we didn't agree in advance, okay, let's not talk about politics. We didn't say anything like that. And I don't think we had any kind of conscious agreement to avoid the subject, but I think he seems to be more at peace now, because I think he's given up. Like a lot of Ramonas, he has given up. And you see it everywhere. You see it in among statesmen as well. For example, Anna Soubry has disbanded CUC, which must be one of the shortest-lived political parties of all times. She decided it wasn't worth keeping it going because members kept popping in and out, like as if it's a kind of like a public phone box. They lost all their seats, I think, so they don't want to be some kind of useless centre-left party with no MPs. So they've disbanded CUC, and so you see that across the board. I think that now my dad has actually accepted that Brexit's going to happen. I think he feels some relief there. I think, and what's more, I feel some relief because I think we're closer to Brexit. And I'll say more about this actually in a future video because I'm going to be covering this in the future. But basically, it feels as if things are calming down now. Things are calming down now because everyone knows where they stand. As I think I mentioned this on the general election live stream. The door to Brexit is open now, and so it seems all the naysayers are now maybe starting to realise that it's not worth pursuing this any further. I mean, obviously it's something they should have realised in June 2016, but they didn't, and now I think some of them are realising it now. And I think that's good. I mean, it means they can find. It's a good way of finding peace with themselves. Like I think my dad has found peace with himself. It means maybe she's found peace with me. I wasn't rubbing it in. I wasn't gloating or anything like that. I mean, we only discussed it once, and I just made a joke about the second general election. So that, I think, has released a lot of pressure, and I think that's good. So I'm really, really happy about what happened yesterday. And I thank my dad and his partner and everyone else. I mean, I talk about these things because I know they never watch my channel anyway, so it doesn't matter. So now, let us proceed down under and see what the one and only Steve Mumbling has been saying. Yes. Right then, everybody. Hello again. Okay, I've got a different drink this time. I've got some of this. See. This is mixed gin and tonic and a glass to put it in. I actually finished off that whiskey, which didn't take long because it was only 5 cls, like I said. But this is like just perfect, just perfect blend. This. Yeah, anyway, right. Steve Mumbling, all the way from down under, where eternal sunshine shines down onto the city of Steve Mumblingville. He has deemed himself to do a video, a special Christmas video. And so we'll just go through that, and I'll address some of the points he makes, and also maybe discuss some of the comments as well, because I actually put some comments on there, and people actually replied to them. So I'm going to. I know I said I wouldn't do that, but I can't resist sometimes. Anyway, so take it away, Steve. He begins with his usual copyright disclaimer, as I think he's still got this idea that I'm going to like flag his videos or something, which of course I'm never going to do.
Well, what's going on in the world of woo? People like Ben Emlyn-Jones will say,
See, I told you he drops my name. This video is primarily about me, I should say. It's only 12 minutes long, but so I'm not going to like cut and move. I'm just going to do the whole thing. Anyway, here we go.
There's a huge difference in the way that people are talking about aliens, ET, and UFOs these days compared to how they talked about it in the past.
There is, and I've discussed this before, and indeed I'm going to do a UFO disclosure video, probably by the new year, going about this in more detail, about how the 70-year Twining memo, all the recommendations were thrown out the window in 2017, and since then things have changed, and that is indisputable. Whatever your opinions of ATIP and TTSA, it's indisputable that the whole situation with UFOs and how they're treated by the mainstream media has transformed. So a 70-year policy has been put aside and replaced with another one, and you've got to ask yourself why. But I'll go into more detail on that in my next UFO disclosure video. I'm also creating a UFO disclosure portal, so that will be on the main Hapanwo website, not Hapanwo Voice. The main Hapanwo, that's www.hapanwo.blogspot.com. Okay, I'll put that up probably early in the new year.
Well, looks like maybe not. British politician steps down over alien claims. Now, this is from the Unexplained Mysteries website, and it says here, Jill Hughes dropped out of the election race after it came to light that she had previously claimed to be an alien.
She did?
It seems that believing in aliens can harm your chances of a career in politics.
Well, it does seem that way, doesn't it?
Well,
wouldn't be the first time. Anyway, I did cover this at the time. If you read the Hapanwo Voice blog, you'll see that. That's odd. I can't find my notes now. Just a moment. Yeah, here we go. Right, yeah. This is all related to the whole Brexit thing. What happened was the Brexit Party, Farage's new party, put up a number of candidates in various seats, as I covered in previous videos and during the general election and Brexit process this year. One of them was a lady called Jill Hughes, who goes by the pen name J.J. Hughes, and she has written she's written some books which I haven't read yet, but they do look pretty interesting, and so I will get into that. But anyway, I'll let Steve carry on and say a little bit more.
Actually, she's from up in Yorkshire, I think, isn't she? Yes, the Brexit Party's parliamentary candidate for the Yorkshire constituency of Batley and Spen.
Batley and Spen. Does that sound familiar to you? It should do. Batley and Spen is the constituency of Joe Cox, and it seems odd to me that I don't know. It could be just a coincidence. It could be nothing. But it's an odd thing. It is a very, very odd situation we're in now, I think, because Joe Cox, of course, was supposedly killed by a guy who's supposedly in jail. No one knows where he is now. If you watch Rich Planet, it's been covered in detail there. And Jill Hughes is the one who is being put up against all the other candidates by Farage's party, but she stepped down. Now, Jill Hughes, this all came out on Hope Not Hate, which I call Hate Not Hope, this horrible little sort of like communist quango thing, which gets a lot of taxpayers' money to go around calling people names. What happened was she was apparently withdrawn from the election because she has a number of unusual beliefs. And she used to be a banker, and she says she is a spirit guide from Sirius, the brightest star in the night sky, apart from the sun. It's 6.8 light years from the Earth, and it's said to her it has like a binary star system going around it, like the Dogon tribe discovered. And she claims to be a spirit guide, right? Now, you know very well me. You know that I take these sorts of things seriously, and as far as I'm concerned, that would, if I was in that constituency, I would be more, not less, likely to vote for Ms. Hughes as a result. She's written a book called The Spirit of Prophecy, and it's called Paranormal Crime Fiction. Sounds just up my street, doesn't it? I should buy myself a Christmas present and get a copy of that. It's a self-published book, but then what's wrong with that? I mean, everyone self-publishes now. But anyway, let me allow Steve to continue.
Hughes had been a relative unknown until an investigation revealed some interesting facts about her. An aspiring author, she'd previously written a novel, Spirit of Prophecy, about a psychic detective.
Sounds interesting.
While this wouldn't really have raised any eyebrows on its own, her Amazon biography reads, to this day, J.J. Hughes believes in elves, fairies, mermaids, unicorns, and all things elemental and otherworldly. She's had numerous prophetic premonitions, usually about death. Certainly, she should have had a premonition about her political death, I would think.
Very funny, Steve. Very funny indeed. Well, I mean, of course, for me, obviously, Steve and I will see this very, very differently. For me, this is a sign of the system that we live under and how it is intended. It has a kind of filter against the kinds of things that Jill Hughes promotes. At the same time, I personally obviously think that's a bad thing. I think it's a bad thing that our political system does this. And I did write to her. I'll just let Steve carry on here.
Which so far, despite a few close shaves, she's escaped. She came to believe in reincarnation in her mid-20s. When her old horse Red made a reappearance, this time as a palomino called Hooray Henry.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's as a palomino called Hooray Henry. It could be that the horse reincarnated. Yeah, I mean, is that ridiculous? I know Steve thinks it is, but presumably humans are animals like all others, and humans can have more than one life. We sometimes reappear. There are people who have past life memories of life in the past or in parallel universes, whatever it might be. Why shouldn't horses be the same? Why not?
Yeah, I'm surprised we haven't seen, what's her name, Jill Hughes being interviewed on the Ben Emlyn-Jones channel.
Well, I did write to her actually, so hopefully she'll get back to me at some point. And I'll be covering that in the comments section in a minute.
Oh dear, let's just have a look at the bit down here. Perhaps most notably of all, however, she also reportedly wrote, "I've just come to truly realise that my purpose is to raise consciousness here on Earth."
Well, good for her.
Does this sound familiar?
Good.
I originated from Sirius. Well, she
maybe
cannot be serious.
Very droll, Steve. Now, the thing is, we don't know about the star Sirius, about whether it's what it actually has, whether it has planets orbiting it that could harbour life. We do know that it has it's a binary star. It has a very dim star that circles it, orbits it rather, and you can't actually see that star with the naked eye. You need quite a powerful telescope to see it. Now, this was only discovered in recent years when such telescopes were invented. However, explorers who went into West Africa a long time ago, discovered a group of people called the Dogon. This is a tribe in what's today northeastern Nigeria, and they knew about Sirius B. They knew about it, even though they did not have the technology to create telescopes. And when the explorers went back and said, when this was discovered, and they went back to the Dogon and they said, look, how do you know about Sirius B when you didn't have telescopes? They said, we were visited a long, long time ago in our ancient history by a group of people who come from that, by a group of creatures who come from that particular star. They actually lived there and they came to visit us. They landed on Earth and they visited us. And they were called the Nommo, Nommo. And they've actually drawn some pictures of them. They look a little bit like sort of cross between a human and a fish. And they told us where they came from and they explained, and we had open communication with these beings. That's how the Dogon people knew about Sirius B. And so I know Steve ridicules this, but I do not. It is possible that Jill Hughes is indeed in some way connected with these creatures. Maybe she has been put on the Earth by these beings. I know she looks like a perfectly ordinary human, but that doesn't mean she actually is.
Yes, well, bang goes her political career. So that was, Simon Parks. She's from Yorkshire.
Hang on, bang goes her political career. Well, as I said, as I've explained in my general election and Brexit videos, sure, she personally stepped down from the election, but the election achieved what she wanted, which was to have a government in which was going to deliver Brexit, and which has happened. So I doubt if she's weeping into her porridge, Steve. I think she's probably quite pleased with what's happened.
I think Simon Parks is from up that way as well, isn't he?
And, Simon, I don't know where Simon lives now. I know he lived in Whitby in North Yorkshire on the coast, and he was a councillor there for the Labour Party. He's actually, I don't know where he is now. Of course, you listen to him talk, he doesn't have the accent. He doesn't talk like a Yorkshireman, but I don't know where he originates from, but I know he has lived in that area.
I think he stepped down as well. He said it was all voluntary and people voted for him after he said he was, after he produced his crayon drawings of his aliens. But, Parks was a councillor, so they don't actually have a salary, councillors, unlike members of Parliament.
I don't know if that's true or not, about whether people get paid for being a councillor. I do know that Simon actually was re-elected after... I remember he was re-elected at least once. Now, he's not a councillor at the moment, but he was re-elected after this particular event, which means his constituents obviously are not that bothered about what he did. I mean, he was raked through the horrible, crap bath of the media ridicule, the way Jill Hughes has been. But generally speaking, I would say. He's not in the. I think in the view of people who matter, the people I would care about what they thought of me. Simon has actually been treated very well and is highly regarded.
She's a Brexit Party parliamentary candidate. She would have been a member of Parliament and she would have received quite a decent salary for that, whereas Parks would have been completely voluntary. I think councillors work on expenses only.
I'm not sure if that's the case. I know councillors don't earn as much money as MPs, but then it's not something you do full time, I think, if you're a councillor. But if she was obviously if she'd been elected to Parliament, then Miss Hughes would have been working full time as an MP. And
so anyway, that's about it. I've had a bit of a look around. There's some strange trumpeting noises being heard in Norway, I think. Something like that.
Those are yes. In fact, these are coming back now. They're known as sky quakes, and if you remember a little while ago, there was actually a bit of a fuss about it actually, because they were appearing all over the world, and they were strange, loud noises bursting out in the sky. Sometimes it resembled distant thunder. Sometimes it resembled aircraft engines, jet engines from aircraft. But the strangest of all is where you hear a sound that's rather like a foghorn or a trumpet, some kind of musical sound, coming out the sky from an unidentified source. Now, this seems to have been accompanied with some other strange events, which is, as it was last time, that's when the sky quakes emerged, which includes the sudden death of birds in a huge number. This has happened twice now in Britain in the last couple of weeks, where people just come along and suddenly they found hundreds of dead birds just lying in the same place. And no one knows exactly what killed them. There's all kinds of theories about how they died. They seem to have experienced some kind of trauma. That's like they often have injuries like broken bones and things like that. But there's no overall certainty about what killed them. What's more, they always tend to be the same species. For example, in Arkansas a couple of years ago, there was a mass bird deaths epidemic. Every single bird affected was a red-bellied starling. There were no other species of birds mixed in. They were all red-bellied starlings. So how is that? I mean, I don't know how that is. Whether it's something connected with UFOs, whether it's something connected with parallel universes. Maybe this is something connected with, the odd things falling from the sky, the fish and the frogs and things that fall from the sky, which I covered. I actually did a video about this, and I investigated personally a case which it involved a number of small yellow balls falling from the sky. I remember that. Very odd. It was in Leicester. Now, the skyquakes have been blamed on lots of things. There's several natural phenomena that might occur for them, might account for them, such as solar wind, solar flares, sunspots, and what was another one? Cosmic rays of various kind. We are in the solar minimum at the moment, and they say this is due to increased levels of cosmic radiation because we're in the solar minimum. We have a very deep solar minimum actually at the moment. If you listen to Hospital Radio Space Weather, you'll know that. And some people say skyquakes are caused by space rockets as well. That's another thing that's often blamed, a space rocket. But they're continuing. I mean, the skyquakes seem to be returning, and indeed there's been one reported off as Norway, as Steve says. They've been reported in... they tend to be reported often in northern latitudes, actually, in the polar regions or the high temperate regions, which is kind of where we are. It's odd. It's a very, very odd thing. But although they have occurred in the Philippines as well, which is equatorial, there was and also strange coloured clouds and things like that often appear. Maybe it's something related to HAARP or chemtrails. I'm not sure. Or maybe it's extraterrestrials. I'm not sure what it is. But anyway, Steve, I'll let Steve continue.
Somewhere up that way. Usual sort of stuff. Nothing compelling, really.
Well, obviously, I've just explained. I think it is compelling. It is the usual sort of stuff in the sense that the same phenomena with the same symptoms appears to be recurring.
Ben Emlyn-Jones has even done a review on a film that's about 50 or 60 years old, I think. Maybe.
Oh right, we've gone on to a different subject now. Yeah, this is
even older. It's a Wonderful Life.
It's a Wonderful Life. Yeah.
Been a review or two written on that, I would think, over the last 60 years since it came out.
Yeah, over 70 years, 75 years actually, Steve. It's an old film, and I went to see it in the cinema because they were showing it, and because it's a film I really enjoy. In fact, every Christmas I get the old DVD out and I do watch that. I'll check that's just framed. I do watch this. I have watched it already actually since I saw it in the cinema. Especially on the I'll probably watch it today actually because it is Christmas Day today, and it is one that I absolutely love. It's very, very popular, and seeing it on the big screen though is special, I think, and that's why I went to see it. And I decided to do a Hapanmo TV roving review of it.
Was it 80 years? It's black and white.
That's 75.
James Stewart in it, so it might have been done in the 40s.
46.
Good heavens. And what else is going on? Not very much. There's the usual reincarnation nonsense on Neil Peel's channel. People...
that's Neil Geddes Ward. All right, I've not seen that. I'm not familiar with that.
Having fanciful encounters with aliens, Sasha Christie and co. Don't believe a word of that.
All right, Sasha Christie, I know she has reported that she is a contactee, and she has had abduction experiences. As you know, though, I'm not on very good terms with Sasha at the moment. I can't really discuss that. All I know is what people send me, and they tell me, Sasha's reporting now that she's a contactee. She actually has reported an abduction experience she had in Wales. Obviously, I can't investigate this personally because of the personal problems I have with her. The fact that we are now bitter enemies over the whole Larry Warren situation. So I don't really know much about this, I'm afraid, and I'm not willing to look into it for the reasons that I've explained.
Secret space program whistleblowers that can do no better than produce crayon drawings. Yes.
Are you referring to what's on Rich Planet, with the secret space program? Well, that's something I'll cover in my next video. I don't want to go into that now, but I am doing a UFO disclosure video. I will address the secret space program issue. But I did discuss this actually in my recent appearance at the Bases Project, and there is a video of that both on my channel where I did my own recording. There's a much better quality actually on Megawatts 1066. That is Miles Johnston's channel, where you can actually see me doing my lecture in HD quality. So check that out. But I do address the issue to do with the secret space program, and I'll be saying a lot more about that in my, I don't know if it's my next video, but my next UFO disclosure video, which will be probably before the new year or just after, and I'll be talking about the fact that President Trump has continued with his project to create a space force. He's appointed a commander-in-chief of the space force, and the U.S. Congress has awarded it $6 billion $6 billion budget. So obviously he means business with this, and the implications of what that means when it comes to the secret space program, I'll be discussing in my next video. But Michael Saller's just done a very good one. Looks interesting.
And of course, Miles Johnson is spruiking this suppressed Tesla technology, which of course is absolute nonsense.
It's not nonsense, and Miles is not spruiking, which is a word I didn't even know until Steve used it. It means trying to sell some dodgy goods. The suppressed Tesla technology is a real thing. And what's more, I know that because I debated this with Steve in several videos.
If you put any money into that, I guarantee that'll be the last you see of your money. You're never going to see something generating electricity out of thin air. Not possible. It's never going to happen, and you're certainly never going to see it flying around. So
I don't recall them actually asking for investment, Steve. I mean, this goes back to a long way. Like, it's true, you go through the history of free energy, there's been some frauds, especially in the older era where you had like the perpetual motion machines. However, I don't personally have anything to invest with really, but if you want to invest money in this, obviously I agree that you have to be careful who you're investing with. I don't recall in Miles's video the people behind this suppressed Tesla technology that he refers to asking for any sort of crowdfunding. I didn't spot that bit. However, you've got to be careful. Obviously, do you remember the Steorn situation? This was an Irish company that came out with something called the Orbo machine. I remember because I was a member of their forum for a while. This is in the pre-Facebook days, and it all went quiet. I know, and a lot of people said, "Well, Steorn are just frauds." Now, and indeed this was covered in several skeptic radio shows that I listened to. It's one of my little guilty pleasures. But the fact of the matter is, Steorn actually didn't make money off this, I don't think. I mean, I recall them doing a couple of demonstrations with the prototype, but I don't remember them actually. They may have asked for some investment to help for development costs. I don't recall anyone making a profit off this, Steve. So, I mean, if you want to make money, off something that's false, dodgy double glazing or second-hand cars is far more lucrative. Coming out with some kind of false story about free energy is not really a path to profit, I would say.
Before you put your hand in your pocket and decide to put any money in that particular pot, Google Eric P. Dollard. One of the people tied up with this free energy nonsense, has been peddling it for decades, lives in a car out in the desert. That's how real it is.
What do you say, Eric P. Pollard? Let's have a look. Okay, I'll Google it, Steve. Eric Pollard. Oh, fictional character. Fictional character on Emmerdale. Right, he's a character on Emmerdale, as far as I can see here. He said Eric P. Pollard, didn't he? I'll go to images and see what's here. Yeah, it's just pictures of this character from the soap operas I vaguely recognise, because I don't watch it, but sometimes it appears. So nothing really of interest here, Steve. You want me to Google it? I've tried Googling it, and I've got nothing on. Scholarly articles, Eric P. Pollard. Here you go. Feature selection for grasp recognition from optical markers. Molecular mechanisms underlying genotype-dependent responses to dietary restrictions. I don't even know what this means. Okay, I googled it and found nothing.
Multi-millionaire, of course. Or he'd certainly be living in a house powered by free energy if it were at all possible.
Not if the material is taken from you. Not if what if all your papers and prototypes are extracted and stolen by the government, or you hand them over through a contract, which is specifically designed to prevent you developing it. Many people are silenced. They're either paid off and given a lot of money in exchange for development rights, quote unquote, or they are threatened in various different ways. But this kind of technology is actually immediately put under a D notice, essentially. I mean, I've covered this in previous videos. You've seen them. You've seen the videos I made about it. I mean, if people don't think this is going on, try and see if you can find Ning Li. Do you know, Ning Li is a scientist who was involved in various anti-gravity and free energy research projects. They took this seriously. Well, anyway, she's apparently quite difficult to get hold of these days. She seems to have cut herself off from her old friends and family, when funnily someone actually did phone as she picked up the phone. She said, "I'm doing classified research for the US Department of Defense," and that's all she would say. So Steve, you've got to ask yourself, right, if this is all nonsense, this is all rubbish, it's all a fraud and people are spruiking and they're conning people for decades, why is the government taking such a keen interest in it? You've got to ask yourself that, haven't you? Because I know everyone else is.
Miles Johnston tells us that everything you learn at university about electricity and electronics is rubbish.
Not everything, but universities are, to quote Michael Elner, they destroy knowledge. They're intended to put people in a certain mindset and train you for a certain job and a certain profession, and to firstly they tend to specialise you, and then you're given a certain worldview which changes the way you look at things. As Albert Einstein said, the only thing that ever interfered with my learning was my education.
Being conned. Yet, of course, engineers are taught in university all the time, all over the world, and they go out into the real world and they design equipment.
Of course you do learn some things in university that are true. If you want to be an engineer, you learn real stuff about engineering. I don't dispute that, Steve.
Design equipment and systems using all the formulas that they were taught at university.
Of course, I understand that, Steve, but the point is that doesn't distract from the point I made about how certain things are suppressed by education. You're taught some things and you're taught other things, and you're taught other things which aren't true. You're untaught, in other words, at university.
They obviously work, don't they? So we shouldn't really believe these hacks like Maxwell and Voltaire and Ampere.
No, look. Yeah, we do believe them. I mean, I do believe that Isaac Newton was correct when he identified the laws of motion. I mean, anyone who thinks that what you learn about Newton is wrong will climb up an apple tree and then jump off and see what happens. You'll fall to the ground. Why? Gravity. Yeah. I'm not saying, I don't know anyone who says that it's all nonsense, apart from the flatheads, of course. But I mean, I don't say it's all nonsense.
And Einstein, what do they know about it, really?
And the whole thing about Einstein is very interesting because, the Michelson-Morley experiment, stuff like that. Well, that's been repeated, and it got different results. So that's another thing.
We should believe an electrician who's discovered something that's been suppressed. Well, it hasn't been suppressed, of course. All this information has been available for the last 100 or so years, and certainly if there was anything to it, it would have been spotted before now.
Well, it has been spotted before now, and it's been sequestered by the powers that be and made the wards of the state. so that it can't be released and it can't be developed, it can't be produced. No one can get licenses to produce it. No one. There's all kinds of different methods that the state uses for preventing this kind of technology from coming out, because the technology we're talking about here is something that is absolutely anathema to the current world order.
Of course. So yeah, what I was going to say was, of course, all the stuff you taught at university about how to calculate all this stuff with regard, electrical systems and electronics and that sort of stuff seems to work, doesn't it? All those calculations work. You can design something, you can use that math, build it, and it will work. So it can't be bunkum, can it? None of it works. Whereas there is no math, and they've produced no math to show exactly how this free energy device is going to work.
It's maths, not math. Stop talking like a yank.
Sitting there running on thin air.
It's not running on thin air, it's running on energy which is extracted from the fabric of the universe. 0-point energy.
Going to fly around as well, of course. So should be lots of.
Well, it'll fly. If you can control gravity, you can fly. It's because the thing flying is essentially moving through the air in a gravitational field. Flying is using the air as a way of achieving lift. Whereas, and this is what birds do. This is what aircraft do. If you can control gravity, that's another method of doing the same thing. So, of course, yes, it would be developed for aviation. Absolutely.
Very interesting math to prove that claim. Haven't seen any. Have you?
Yes.
So
yes. And we've debated this, Steve. We talked about 9/11. We talked about Dr. Judy Wood. We've talked about the free energy issue. I'm not going to repeat myself by making reply videos to you, which all the points you've already made and I've already discredited. I'm not going to do that. But you can't say... My nose is itching. You can't say that it's not true, because I've demonstrated to you that it is.
Favour. Steer well clear of putting any money into any free energy projects.
Okay, Steve, no one has ever asked me for money. In all the time I've been interested in this, I have never been asked to hand over a penny, I promise you. Apart from fees to go to various conferences and things like that, no one's made a bean out of this. People very often get ruined if they get involved in this. Nikola Tesla died virtually penniless. He was a broken man living in a hotel room. In 1943, when he finally shuffled off this mortal coil, the FBI sealed off the room. They confiscated everything he had, all his machines, all his papers, all his books, all his blueprints, before they even allowed the undertakers in to take the poor man away to the funeral home. So, don't you think that if Tesla had taken a different path in his career, he could have become successful? He could have become wealthy. He could have become like Edison and Westinghouse and all these other people, as I talked about in my film The Current War. He was destroyed by J.P. Morgan and the Rockefellers and the Rothschilds. They destroyed him. They ruined him because of what he was doing, what the threat he was posing to this world order that I've described before, based on the fact that he would have brought in energy, an energy system and a power generation system that would have completely restructured the world into a way which would make the new world order impossible. That's why. So no one's asked me for any money. No one's asked me to invest any money. I don't know anyone who has been really seriously approached and asked to invest money. Well, I mean, there's that thing with Greer, and what's it? Dr. Stephen Greer had this thing called Seas. I don't know if anyone's actually lost money out of that. I mean, many people have said that there's something dodgy about it. Andrew Johnson specifically on checktheevidence.com. I must admit his concerns are valid. But I don't personally know someone who's actually lost money to Greer as a result of that. It doesn't seem to me... It seems to me something that is suspicious in terms of the political elements of suppression, but it doesn't appear to be a money-making scam as far as I can see, although I haven't reviewed that particular topic for a while, so if I'm wrong, let me know. But, as I said, Steve, there's easier ways to fleece people. There's easier and far more lucrative ways to get people to part with their cash for a false reason. This is really going the long way around if you want to make money. It really is.
They are all a scam, especially if it's suppressed Tesla technology. As soon as someone says it's suppressed Tesla technology, that is a huge red flag.
No, it's not.
If you Google the people that are involved, you will find that they've been doing it. They've been doing it for years and years. They go from one thing to another, to another, to another. It's all about free energy.
Well, Eric Pollard. Yeah, the most dodgy thing Eric Pollard has ever done. He's tried to sneak a pint out of the wool pack and have a drink without paying for it. That's the worst thing he's ever done. He really has.
And all this sort of stuff, and they've been doing it for decades, and they've been living off other people's money for decades. They're always on the cusp of producing something.
They're either sort of in hiding or they're in jail, Steve. But they may have been jailed, like what's his name, Searle, Frank Searle, or they got killed, like Eugene Malov and the other guy. Mayer, Stanley Mayer. Stanley Mayer poisoned. He had a meeting with some people who were going to maybe invest in what he had to do. It turns out there was some kind of a government hit squad. They poisoned his food. He died. Eugene Malov fell off a moving train, apparently. Even though the doors are always locked on trains when they're moving. So, what you're saying makes no sense. I mean, if you know someone who's actually made a fortune off free energy, who are they? Because you've given me one name, I've googled it like you suggested, and it's a character from Emmerdale.
Released to the world. But it never happens. They always need just a bit more of your money to make it happen, and of course it never does.
It doesn't happen because it is taken, it is suppressed, it was destroyed through disinformation, where people are told lies about it. The skeptics do their bit by putting out radio shows and articles about how horrible everything is. You get like Eric Krieg and people like that just trashing the whole thing. I don't think Eric Krieg is an agent. I think he's just an idiot, but that's what happens.
Because it's not possible. It just isn't possible. Okay, well, you can, if they're still around in a few years' time, you can look at my video and you can look at Miles's video and you can see which one of us is right.
Fair enough, Steve. That's what we'll do. And I think hopefully a time will come when we will realise it was Miles that was right and you that were wrong. Will you admit it if that's the case?
See how many free energy machines producing 20 kilowatts of power out of thin air there are around.
Well, you know, in the post-Illuminati world, that is what you will see. You will see that. I mean, there has to be a post-Illuminati world, because otherwise there will be no Earth. And you will see these things. You will see this kind of technology in common use. I mean, this is the scenario I describe in my Roswell trilogy, my books. And it's not just out of my imagination. I did research to. It's a fictional scenario, but it's based on research I've done.
Alright, well, this is only a very quick one. I've been pretty busy, don't have a great deal of time, but I've just had a quick look around the woo-woos, around the woo-woo channels, just to see what's going on. I hadn't had a look at Unexplained Mysteries for ages, and this just caught my eye. I thought it was rather amusing. So I just do a very quick video. I very much doubt I'll be doing anything else before Christmas, maybe not even the New Year, depending on how things go, how busy I am, etc, 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 over the holiday period. So I'll just take this opportunity to say thank you very much indeed for supporting the channel.
Oh, right, well,
I
do watch
don't work properly. They'll appear in my notification.
I'll just carry on a bit.
Really enjoyable Christmas.
Well, thanks, Steve. Merry Christmas, you too.
Gives you the hard luck story. So
I've just skipped on a little bit
from the long lost cousin that you know comes round. Nothing like the truth. Should be the nothing like the truth movement. So
very funny, Steve.
Why don't these people just find a bit of integrity?
Well, we have.
They should make a New Year's resolution to look in the mirror, take a long, hard look at themselves, see if they can just reach down deep inside and find a bit of integrity and start telling the truth.
Well, what do you think?
Leaving out all the embellishments.
What do you think the debates are? These debates are, Steve. That's what we're doing here. I think you've got to realise you call it the untruth movement. There are some bad people in the truth movement. I admit there's some people who are very destructive, and I've talked an awful lot about those. But you know, if I'm wrong, about anything. You know, I always put myself open to just debate and to people who wish to discredit or to discredit anything I say, which you do, and I'm quite happy for that. I don't flag any of your videos and call your names and try to stop you from making videos. I don't. So you want integrity from us. Well, what else can we do? I mean, apart from what we've done already.
The downright lies. The scams going into any of these. I'll say.
Alright, that's the last part of that video is not very interesting. But anyway, I put a comment on there. I've got an idea for a Christmas video now, which is the video you're watching now. And Aid Larson says, "Hey Ben, Merry Christmas and a happy, healthy New Year to you." And I really mean that. Thanks, Aid. I hope you find a job and get off the internet and stop hanging around with losers. To be successful surround yourself with successful people. Due tidings to you, Ben. 2020 is about prospering. Cheers. Well, Aid, firstly, I have a job. do you think I just sit here the whole time, and this is all I do, and I'm living off the dole or something? No, I have a job. Like most people, I have a full-time job. That's what funds what I do now. Okay. Professor Fez says, "Do something. Review Elf with Will Ferrell." I've not seen that anyway. And Professor Fez says, "Happy Christmas, Ben. Be happy, free, and fulfilled." Well, thank you, Professor Fez. And Steve Mumbling says, "Let's have the Concrete Company response video first, shall we? I can't wait to find out what's really going on there and what Miles, Julie, and yourself are going to do about it." Lol. Oh, that's referring to my Basis Project video. Now, where are we now? Go back a little bit further. And I explained I did write to Jill Hughes. She hasn't replied. And I also say to people, look, check out my reply videos to Steve. I've done a dozen of them now, over the moon landings, over free energy, over 9/11, over Zimbabwe, the Rua case in Zimbabwe, and many, many other subjects. Steve says, "Surprise, surprise. She probably had a look at your channel and found it out you believe the Queen is a shape-shifting lizard from outer space. She probably thought that might damage her credibility somewhat. Lol." Well, I doubt it, Steve, because you know, if you look at what she's like and the things she talks about, I reckon she'd be quite open to these ideas. You know. Professor Fez says, "I've got nothing personal against Ben. I really don't, whichever account he's using, and I really do wish him all the best. There's a big difference between having a laugh at conspiracy balderdash and wanting to destroy a person. For this reason, I am not and never will be on board with this J.P. Branning rubbish, making things personal about him. As you say, Ben is very amiable, and I know when to stop. Such people as Ike, Johnson, Greer, Parks, well, that's another story. They don't consider Ben to be their friend, and he can see this. I'm sure you know what I'm getting at, Steve. How are you? Okay. Well, you know, Professor Fez, you know, I'm glad you realise you're not going to go to the point that J.P. Branning is just a word for Team Droik. This is a person I've blocked now. I block all those people. No, I mean, I'm not the kind of person who just blocks people because they're you know, they disagree with me on something, you know. Anyway, where are we now? Blah de blah. Oh yeah, the A. Larson says, "Ben, the only free energy comes from the sun." No, it doesn't. No, it doesn't. Anyway, where do we go from here? There's no other comments now, I don't think. But Steve says here, where is it? Hang on. You're an amiable, gullible fool, Ben. Oh, right. Well, I'm glad you think I'm amiable, but I'm not gullible. If I was gullible, you wouldn't have to say I was gullible. You wouldn't have to say anything about me personally, because you would simply be able to make the videos which you're doing. And I reply to them whenever I can. I mean, I don't reply to every one of your videos, but I do. I watch most of them, and I believe you're incorrect, and I'll explain why. You have a zero understanding of technology or engineering, as you have clearly demonstrated time and time again. You will form an uneducated opinion on free energy and have decided to spread this ridiculous opinion of truth. No! I have formed an opinion which I have presented for peer review, essentially, as I've explained, in which you have been very active in doing so, and I don't resent you for that.
Johnston does know better. He understands engineering. He knows that Tesla coal steam turbine and every other free energy device is a con. No! I was talking to Miles personally about this whole thing that he's been doing. He has to hide this fact by saying everything we're taught about engineering is bullshit. But if that were true, no one would be able to engineer. No, well, that's just going through things you said before. Okay. Steve then says, oh, where is it next? There we go. Although, yeah, it's talking about the sun and everything like that. When it's hydrogen fuel stock, it's gone and it's gone, and nothing is free in nature. Ben is convinced alien spacecraft use free energy as a power source. Well, if they're travelling, if they're doing what they appear to be doing, if they exist, and I think they do, they're not exactly doing it on Texaco unleaded 4-star, are they? They were far more. It's far more like they would use hydrogen fusion antimatter reactions. Well, maybe they do. Maybe they do. I don't know. But anyway, that's my reply to Steve Mumbling and his little his own little Christmas video. And now I think I'm off to watch the Queen's speech and see if the Queen shapeshifts. In fact, I might do another little segment on that. Okay, I have watched the Queen's speech, and it was shorter than most of them. I mean, it's supposed to last for 10 minutes. Actually, the actual video is 7 minutes 47 seconds. It's actually on the Royal Family's YouTube channel now, if you want to go and see it. And it's not all the Queen talking. A lot of it is like the band playing, because the band, it begins with the band playing God Save the Queen, and then it ends with the same band and a choir singing Christmas carols. But anyway, I watched it very carefully, and the Queen did not shapeshift. I was hoping she would. I was very much hoping that we would actually see the Queen turn into a reptilian on live TV. Well, see, it's not live, it's recorded. And I'm sure some of you will say, look, Ben, you're never going to see that, because if it happened to happen, they would simply edit it out. They would edit it out so you'd never see it. They'd say, look, the Queen's gone lizard, wait till she comes back to human, then we'll go again, action. However, unless there may have been someone like the QAnon people in the gallery, in the production team, that might have slipped it into the TV broadcast. You never know. That's what I was hoping for, but of course it didn't happen. I mean, she looked pretty much human all the way through. And so she talks about how this was a year of small steps. She talks a lot about small steps in this particular speech. She mentions for example, that this is the 50th anniversary of the Apollo moon landings, or supposed moon landings. And she talks about Neil Armstrong saying, one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind. She also mentions it's also the 75th anniversary of D-Day as well, and there was a big celebration for that too. And she talks about how the small steps the guys took when they were storming the beaches when they landed on the 6th of June during Operation Overlord. And of course, these are the same people. Well, there's still a few of them old enough to be alive now, but of course the Brexit, the Ramonas will want them dead, don't they? I'm not going to go back in. I'm not going to get into Brexit today, anyway. And she talks about her father. King George the Sixth, who was her father, he's kind of symbolic of this whole British war effort, and he knew the secrets of D-Day, and he couldn't tell anyone. Maybe he knew about the plan to put Helen Duncan in jail. I don't know about that anyway. But anyway, that's she talks about that an awful lot. Now, she does actually pay tribute to the armed forces as always, but she includes the emergency services this time, as well as the armed forces. And so obviously I'm emergency services myself, so I want to just say, forget anything bad I've ever said about the Queen, about her being a lizard or anything else like that. Okay, I denounce it now completely, and I say thank you very much, Mom. Thank you very much for recognising the emergency services. No, only kidding. I still stand by what I've said about the Queen. I mean, I do appreciate anyone who sticks up for the emergency services, but it doesn't change anything else. And she also mentions this has been a year of she's had a lot of additions to her family. Of course, Archie was born, and it's apparently her 8th great-grandchild. I think she said it was her 8th great-grandchild. Little Archie, of course, I covered little Archie, I think, on a previous video. He's the heir to the Duchy of Sussex, and he's born to Prince Harry and Meghan Markle, and I just hope Meghan doesn't go driving through a tunnel in Paris. That's all I can say. I think now she's done well. I mean, the thing about the royal family, and I covered this in the video, is that they're not royal because Prince Harry is the son of James Hewitt and Princess Diana, and Meghan, of course, is a commoner is related to the House of the House of Bowes-Lyon, so she's related to the Queen distantly. But generally speaking, this is not like a proper royal thing, and I go into details of that in my talk. So all in all, the speech was just kind of what you expect. You see what looks like an old human lady sitting there with very well done up hair in her dress with a bright diamond brooch, and she's sitting at this desk. The desk has photos on it. There's a photo of her father, I say King George VI, her father, and there's a photo of William and Kate and their family. And what else was there? There's another photo there. I think it might have been... It certainly wasn't Prince Andrew. Oh God, who was it? No, Prince Andrew. I'll talk about Prince Andrew. Here we go. Yeah, it's Charles and Camilla. There's a picture of, as I say, Prince William's family, her father, King George VI. In the background, I can see there's a picture out of focus, but there's also a picture of Prince Philip. Now, these 4 pictures are arranged very carefully around the Queen, who has a Christmas tree behind her. She's wearing a bright blue dress. It's in Buckingham Palace or Windsor Castle, I don't know. But you see some shots of Windsor Castle as well from the air. Excuse me. Prince Philip, of course, has been in hospital. He was in hospital for a few days in London, and indeed yesterday he emerged, and he's gone to spend Christmas with the Queen. The royal family have attended church services at Sandringham, and there's a little video on the BBC News site which shows them. You see the Queen, you see the vicar, behind her is Camilla. Who else? Oh, hang on, it's hourglassing. William's there, and it's not working. Hang on. William is there, and just refresh that. I see Kate. I see William. Charles is there, and a couple of other people. There they are, posing for photos. Yeah. One person who's notable by his absence is Prince Andrew. Now, Prince Andrew's he's kept his distance. He's gone somewhere else. He did go to church, but he went somewhere else. I believe. Let's have a look. Hang on. Yeah, they went to the church of the St Mary Magdalene Church at Sandringham. He was there. Prince Andrew was there, but he kept a low profile. And that's hardly any surprise, is it? It's certainly no surprise. Here we are. Prince Andrew arrived with his brother Charles at an earlier church service. Well, there you are, isn't it? So, yeah, the Earl of Wessex was there with Lady Louise Windsor. That's Prince Edward. Prince Philip was seen leaving the King Edward VI Hospital on Christmas Eve morning. Yeah, he was taken away in a Range Rover, and I'm pleased to say somebody else was driving. Funny enough, there's been a Christmas card. The Sussexes have actually produced a Christmas card, and it's a picture of a little. Where is it? It's quite amusing, actually. Here we go. Try and find it, but basically it's a picture of little Archie. It's like a black and white picture. It's little Archie looking at the camera. He's like crawling along, and he's looking up at the camera. Oh, he looks so sweet. He looks so very sweet. And you quite clearly see he doesn't look like his mother. He's certainly of mixed race. You can tell quite clearly that he's of mixed race. And I've already I cover what that means and the issues associated with that in the video about it. Here we go. Look, Merry Christmas and Happy New Year. There's Harry, there's Meghan, there's little Archie looking at the camera, and he's a sweet little thing. Our family to yours. Oh, so that's the Christmas card you can get, and I'm sure it'll be a bestseller. On the subject of bestsellers, Christmas is over, of course, now. Or it's not over, but it will be over by the end of today, so it's too late to buy people presents. But, presents can come in any shape and size any time, and if you want to buy someone a late Christmas present, I can't do better than recommend Roswell Rising, a novel of disclosure by Ben Emlyn-Jones, who happens to be me. And it's, as I say, it's the first part of a trilogy, so I don't need to advertise the others, because once someone's read this one, they will definitely want to go and read the rest. It's a good, nice New Year present. £10 only from Amazon or from other bookshops. And if you have someone has a birthday or anything else you want to buy for them, that's the thing to get. Because if they're into UFOs and Roswell and crash retrievals and all the other stuff that Steve Mumbling can't stand, then that's the book you want to buy them, I would say. So thank you very much, all of you. That's very, very interesting. I'll just say a few more words, and then I will leave you to go and enjoy your turkey and mince pies and all the other things you have, while I will continue to enjoy my gin and tonic. So cheers, guys, cheers, and Merry Christmas!
So there. Oh wow, so I'm going to carry on enjoying my Christmas day, and I hope you do too. I will be uploading this today, so you should see it. I want to just say a huge thank you to everyone who supported me over the last year and has watched and has commented and done all the other things that you do. I really, really appreciate that. And I mean, I don't know what your religious faith is or your beliefs or how you choose to do it, but whatever it is, I hope you enjoy your Christmas day and celebrate it really well. And I'll be seeing you again very soon. So, Merry Christmas all of you, and a Happy New Year. Thanks for watching Panmo TV through 2019. Please, excuse me, whiskey. Please continue to watch in 2020. Hospital Porters, pride and dignity. Stop the New World Order.